I'm DJ Seith, and I'm here today at the Transform the Night show with Vanessa Ferlaino. We're going to be celebrating the release of her new book, Human Expanded Edition. I'm going to be doing a short DJ set before the show. I'm really excited to be part of it. Nakehndan is going to be here, and it's going to be a great night.
My name is Karen Bird. I am the president and founder of Nakehndan Knowing Your Truth. It's a nonprofit located in Sault Ste. Marie, and we support sexual assault survivors and their families to heal as a unit. So Nakehndan was incorporated in April of 2023, and it was after about a 10-year journey of my daughter disclosing sexual assault in my family. So we became a part of the child welfare system, the legal system, the family court system, and I describe my journey as hitting every pothole in the road to justice. So as we were going through this together, there were a lot of gaps in the system that I saw to support families and family members to support survivors. And so every time I went through something or I saw that there was a need, I would make a little note and put it away and thought to myself, someday I'm going to start an organization that helps families get through this together. And in April in 2023, I made it happen. So we got an email one day from someone who said, hey, I really love the mandate of your organization. I really align with that. And I'm promoting a book in Sault Ste. Marie that talks about healing journeys and the importance of that. And we really feel like you would be an organization that we would like to donate to and provide some of the proceeds. So of course, we welcome that opportunity. And then, as we got to know the author and she came to visit our organization and we did a tour and we were talking, she said, hey, how about giving you some time to be able to speak at the event and promote your organization more? So anytime someone is, generous and really feels that alignment with our organization and wants to support us, we take every opportunity to talk to people who will listen about the services that we offer and the need for what we do. One of the things that we sort of branched into is providing affordable housing for survivors also. So one of the big gaps in the system is that after somebody finishes some time at a shelter or they've exhausted all of their emergency frontline services, there's nowhere else for them to go. So they either go back to the street or they go back to where the abuse happened. So Nakehndan will provide some transitional housing for them to come and stay in between that time period where they need just more time to become independent and self-sustaining. And we're expanding into getting more units for that. And in the future, we're just looking to provide more and more programming. A lot of our programming is based on Indigenous culture, so we use a lot of teachings, medicines, circles, lodges, and those kinds of things that help root what we're doing in the foundation of the 7 grandfather teachings of our Anishinaabe Ojibwe people in this area, and just helping that family bring itself back together.
My mission is really about how do we invite all of us to transform our inner world so we can transform the outer world. That's really everything that I write about. My music kind of has that angle in it too. And so I wanted to do something a little bit different for the book launch, right? We always think of a book launch, this is about books, but I wanted to make it something a little bit bigger, something a little bit more purposeful, something a little bit more meaningful. And that's really how this came together, especially because we're approaching National Truth and Reconciliation Day. I really wanted to be able to tie that in, I think, with all the geopolitical tensions in the world as well. There's so much global suffering, and I really wanted to put into action this idea of inner and outer world, right? Not only am I writing about it, but I'm actually doing it, I'm living it, I'm breathing it by bringing all these different pieces together. And so it's been amazing. I actually reached out directly to Northern Credit Union. I'm a member of Northern Credit Union, and so I was like, I had this idea and I really want to do this. Do you want to contribute? And they were so on board. I really wanted to take a percentage of the proceeds tonight, give it to an Indigenous group. And they were super, super on board. Really, they were super supportive. And so that's really how it began. And I really think it's important because when we think of reconciliation, right, Indigenous reconciliation, there's a lot of, we have our land acknowledgements and that's all fine, but I think it's time to move into reparations. It's time to move, it's just how do we extend that, right? How do we turn land acknowledgements into land engagements? And so we can sit here today and put money back into our local communities, and that's really what this is about. So again, that invitation, how do we transform the inner and outer world? And that's how all this really came to be.
tell me a little bit about connecting with the organization and your guest here tonight, and how you found each other, and kind of what you're going to be talking about as well.
I did a lot of homework. I did my homework because I knew I wanted to put it towards an organization that was really on the cusp of something big. I didn't want to put it back into an organization that was already fairly established. I wanted to really make sure that the contribution would be fruitful. Northern Credit Union alone is contributing $2,500, and so that can really help an organization move forward. And so I did a search of just the organizations that were around that were supporting Indigenous needs, Indigenous communities. And there are a lot of great ones, but what jumped out to me the most about Nakehndan was their focus on supporting Indigenous community members who are healing from sexual trauma, from sexual violence. That is, I think, very, very important. And what I loved about them is that while they do offer the healing services, they actually also offer anti-human trafficking services and workshops. And I just loved it. Again, when we think of this whole idea of inner and outer transformation, right? These services, these workshops, all of this is doing that. It's both like, how do we help the inner world, but we're also helping spread awareness. We're helping to equip organizations with the right tools and the right information about human trafficking. And so that was what really, really, really pulled me to Nakehndan. I sent them an email and I was like, hey, I wanted to meet you. Like, can we just chat about this? And so I went in, I met them, and it's amazing the work they're doing. They showed me around their offices. They showed me the plans that they have. I'm not sure I can say them, so I'm not gonna. I think they're like top secret. But honestly, I was really excited, and I think they're in a really pivotal point of their journey and the growth that they're going to have. And so that was why. As soon as I met them and I went home and I was like, yep, they're the ones. This is the group. They are the ones. And yeah, and then we solidified it a couple of days later, and then Northern Credit Union was all excited, and we got our photo op. And now we're going to be able to give them that capital plus whatever we raised today from our ticket holders. And like I said, big change. So it's really exciting. This book was actually an interesting journey compared to my first one. My first book was Human. It won 2 awards, was featured in Times Square, a bunch of really exciting stuff. This book is kind of a reflection of the first book, right? This whole idea of how do we be human to ourselves, each other, to the world. Sorry, I know I stuttered, so I'm just going to repeat that. This whole journey of being human to ourselves, to each other, and to the world. I realized, that was 5 years ago, and 5 years later, you have your moments where you go, oh, actually, I was a pretty different person back then. I had a pretty solid intention, but I'm not sure I was where I thought I was at the time in my own journey. And when I thought about what's changed, that's really where the expansive edition of Human came, and that's this book that we're releasing today. And so the writing process was a freaking journey because I had so much more self-awareness in this one that when I went back to read the first book, initially with the intention to write the second book, I hated the first book. I was like, oh my God, what is this? And at the end of the day, of course I didn't hate the book. It was those pieces of me that I didn't see at that time. And it just like, to see that was very eye-opening, I think, and it made me realize there's a lot of things I still have to come to peace with. And so I actually didn't touch that book for almost 6 months after I read it, didn't even touch it. And I actually was like, I'm not even writing the next book. I'm such a bad writer. But after that, I picked it up again 6 months later, and it was a little easier to read, but I still had, I was like, oh, there's still stuff coming up. So again, let it sit for another 3 months. And it was kind of this cycle of doing that until finally, after maybe a year, I started to write something. But I had to go through tons and tons of drafts, and it was another year of just straight up drafts that I had to just go through. And when I look back, every draft was just this new thing I had to shed about myself. And it was a journey, but I guess, it's kind of what I needed, right? When we think of healing, we think of our inner worlds, our inner work. Sometimes we have to do some sorting. We have to learn to love ourselves, and that's been the biggest thing for me, is learning to love myself. And healing has also taken on a new meaning. I think when I thought of healing before, it was kind of a destination, and I talk about this in the book, but healing to me right now is about liberation. And it's like liberating myself from trauma, but liberating myself from the stories that trauma and hurt can tell us, and all of which are valid, right? We're trying to deal with things the way that we're trying to deal with things, but when we actually learn to really love who we are, we do liberate ourselves because we're at peace with every single part of ourselves, every single thing in our story, every chapter. We're not pushing anything away. We can witness it and observe it and honor it for the role that it played in the journey.
Anything else I missed or you want to add or anything like that? Or
I think Let me think here. I think I would say just kind of ending on words of gratitude, like always. It's been really wonderful to work, everyone that's come together for this event. It's been really exciting. And I think I feel very inspired to, a lot of people come on board for projects like this because it's impactful, it's purposeful, and it gives people that sense of meaning as well. And I think that is really inspiring for me to see, because it makes me realize, especially when there's so much just chaos in the world and there's so much suffering and there's so much tension in the world, I remember that we actually are all human and we all want the same things, right? We really want to create change. We all want to do good and we all want to contribute. And I feel very inspired when I work with people who just want to jump on in, It was amazing to me. Sometimes in other realms, I'm used to people, you talk about something you want to do and people immediately are like, okay, let me quote you, blah, blah, blah. But like, that didn't happen to me this time. It was people like, tell me more. I want to know more about this. And, of course, everyone's got to get paid to do their jobs, but it was really, really inspiring, like I said, to be in these spaces where people prioritize the change part and the impact part versus, here, let me quote you on a job you need done, So I want to extend a lot of gratitude for that because, it's been really wonderful, and just to be in community, that's been very, very powerful for me. We have DJ Seith here, and I know him from a lot of community groups, and he just raised money for his other groups as well through his work. And so, like I said, it's just really nice to be around that, and I'm really grateful that the message resonates with people.